appreciate you coming out on
Thank
such a hot,
No, this is
beautiful
wonderful.
evening
This is wonderful.
when we should all be at the beach.
I know.
But thank you for being here, and thank you for writing such a great book. I really
Oh,
appreciate
thank you.
it.
So
Thank you.
read it, huh?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely gritty.
Well done.
It's
Yeah.
dark.
It's gritty and it's well,
Yep.
but it's well written,
Yep.
as you would expect from a professional. And,
Oh, well, yeah. Thanks.
So thank you for being here. And if you want to just tell us a little bit about the book and
Sure. So the
and your
book.
plans for additional books.
Oh yeah. So there's a lot. 2017 is going to be a big year. So there's a lot of exciting things coming. So this is actually my second book that I've written. The first one was released in 2011, and that's kind of a political family drama type thing. And that was really just a lark. The weather guy, Josh Judge at Channel 9, had written a weather book, and he'd worked with a local publisher, and I was thinking, well, I've been kind of working on something. I don't know anything about the book world, but you know, I like the idea of maybe a local publisher. Would he want to take a look? And so they liked it, and we ended up putting it out. And it was really just an all-around positive experience because money didn't matter, didn't care about any of that stuff, and I donated everything to charity. So it was my first go-around with writing a book.
Can I ask questions as we go?
Of course you can.
So you said you donated to a charity,
Yeah.
all of the money that you made.
Yep.
Can you tell us which charity that you donated to?
Sure.
And the why for it?
And the why part. The why part is a big part. I mean, who hasn't been touched by cancer, right?
Sure.
There are a few things I hate in this world, but cancer is one of them. I hate it. And it started attacking my family early. So when I was very young, we lost an aunt. My dad is the oldest of 6. And my Aunt Melody, now my dad is very, he's a wonderful, wonderful man. I've been blessed with the best parents in the world, but he's very proper and kind and, you know, kind of buttoned up a little bit. Now my Aunt Melody was the exact opposite. She was the life of the party. She was funny. She was inappropriate. She was wild. She was all that stuff. And of course, cancer visited her. So she left 2 little kids behind, and it touched you so deeply when that disease strikes that you almost feel helpless, but you have to do something. So at this point in my life, I had, you know, done the Avon walk a bunch of different times, and I had done this thing, that thing, the other thing. But this was more of a direct route that I could control, you know. So in my other line of work, I meet a lot of wonderful people and I tell their stories. And there was this one gal that I met actually on the Seacoast, and she is a survivor. And as she was battling this disease, she started a blog, and it was for people to sort of keep up with what she was going through, how her treatment was, how she was. And that sort of morphed into this huge, wonderful organization that now reaches out to women and their families all across the Seacoast. And it's every Seacoast hospital is involved. They're wonderful. So she was the recipient of a good chunk of the money, and the Elliott Breast Health Center was the recipient of the other chunk of the money. So that's where that went, and that's why that went there. And to this day, it remains.
So is it going
an
into
important
perpetuity, or is it a one-time?
It goes as much as I can make it go.
Okay.
You know. So as long as these books start selling and keep selling, then I can continue to fund these charities.
Fantastic.
And my goal, I have to tell you, my goal in the next couple of years is to establish my own foundation, and that way I can further distribute funds to families who are dealing with not just a cancer situation, but a hopeless situation, a dire situation, through no fault of their own. So that's my next goal in TV, books, and then starting this foundation that will sort of bring me even closer to the people that I want to help eventually.
So what would the name of this charity be?
Funny you should say that.
I'm not prompt here.
No, you're great. You're great. You're flowing
right
right
on
through
that.
my process.
You should do TV.
Yeah, I should do TV. See that?
Sure, anytime. So
I like asking questions.
I run a lot,
Oh.
and I have a great playlist, and every now and again I'll hear a great new song. And my daughter and I were watching this random TV show, and there was this great song on there from a band I've never even heard of, but the song is "We Come Running," and I loved it. And it was sort of, you know, when you're down and the sky is dark, we'll come running to help you. So ideally, I kind of want to name it the We Come Running Foundation.
Cool.
And use that song, which I have to get permission from the band eventually, wherever they are in the world. And I wanted to put something together in a video form about, you know, the people that we might help and all
Well,
the
I'm
good
sure the
people in the
band
world.
is going to be listening to it.
Of course they are,
So
right?
they'll be contacting you.
So yeah, so that's the goal in the next couple of years,
Very
is to iron that out.
Very cool.
Yeah. So that was Last Flight Out. That was the first book. And that one is the story of, and I sort of brought that world of illness and into what it does to a family, the catastrophic results it can have, but I put that into the family of the first female vice president. And this is her family dealing with this. And not only is this young woman dealing with a dire diagnosis, she then jumps on a plane to go tell her best friend, because in her world, you can't just move around because your mother's the vice president. You have to have rules and regulations, and you can't go here and you can't go there, and you have to alert 50 people. And this very, I don't even want to call him, I mean, he is the bad guy, but he's the bad guy for a reason. But this bad guy has a very unfortunate experience with the now vice president. And the experience is something that struck with him when he was a child, and it forever changed the course of his life. So he's working on a deep, dark vendetta. So he's been tracking her. And then there's this other character who's a photographer who gets the story of a lifetime to go out to LA and shoot a senator who's been caught in a scandal. So they all meet together in the same place at the same time. So one's trying to take them down, one's trying to just tell her friend about a bad situation, and the other guy's just trying to get to LA to take some pictures. And that's that story. Yes.
Well, there's a military term for this, which, since we're on TV, I don't think I'll use that term. It's all messed up.
Yeah, it's all messed up.
There you go.
It's all messed up. Yeah.
Do we have that book?
And that's the author's job to untangle.
Do we have that book here?
I don't think we do.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Last Flight Out?
Yeah.
That's part of 2017. So that the very small publisher in New Hampshire's no longer controlling that. So
Oh, okay,
the new
great.
publisher that I have now is wonderful.
So you'll have 2 books coming.
Yeah, so that will be re-releasing next year.
Great.
So the original book is coming out again next year, and then the second book in this series is coming out. Yeah, so the second book in the Jaycee Wilder series will be coming out next year. And then a third book will be coming out, and this is something that I wrote a couple of years ago, and I've sort of been sitting on until I found the right publisher to work with. And this one is a fun story. And it's twisty, but yet somewhat real when you think of the state of politics these days. So this is the story. Echo Valley is the name of the new book coming out, set in New Hampshire. And this is the story of a young hairdresser who went to college on scholarship because she came from a poor family, couldn't help her, didn't want to help her, smart as a whip, was going to be a doctor. She had one bad night, made one bad decision, and ends up coming back to New Hampshire she's pregnant. So flash forward a few years, her son is now 4, and she's working as a hairdresser because she's got to pay the bills. So lo and behold, her salon that she works at, they're hired to prepare the family of one of the candidates for president, and this happens all the time. So they're going to have this big family photo shoot at an apple orchard in New Hampshire. So she's hired as the hairdresser to come in and be the stylist for the family. So in the course of that, she sees and hears something that she never should have seen or heard, and now they know that she knows, and it's a big secret. So she's trying to outrun them. They're trying to contain what could be a devastating scandal to hit the campaign. And that one is coming out next year too. So that one will be fun.
So how long does it take you to
write.
Yeah.
I would say generally it runs between like 5.5 to 6.5 months. And it's odd. No matter what I have going on in my life, no matter what else I'm working on, that's the stretch of time. Yeah, and then the editing process is about another 4 or 5 months. The next one in this series is called Legacy Girls, and that one was fast tracked. I mean, I was working on that, but they wanted it, and they wanted it fast.
Good one.
So yeah, so that one was fast tracked. I might have churned that one out in 4.5 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
So do you do your own editing, or does?
No. I throw something out and it's the best that I know I could have done, and I've gone over it 2,000 times.
So you really couldn't do it anyway.
Right, but then the editor gets a hold of it and comes back with 50 pages of edits, and you miss this and blah blah blah. So it's usually about 3 passes, 3 different people. So I'll send it off. The first editor will send back her round of suggestions, and we'll edit from there, and then it gets another pass, and then we fix it from there, and then it gets a third pass, and then all of us take another look at it after that. So it's a process. And, you know, I've been doing TV a long time, but writing books is new. So I listen and I absorb, and I don't approach the editing process with an attitude at all. I mean, if they tell me, hey, this doesn't fit, or what were you thinking there? I mean, I'll go right back and take another look at it and say, okay, well, let's make sure that everybody understands where I'm at with that. And if I'm not, I'll fix it.
So I did notice that you gave a pronoun to the she in terms of your editor. Do you think it matters in terms of a male versus a female perspective?
I don't.
Okay.
It might in the nuance, you know, only because of a life experience differential. But a person who is an editor will look for the particulars, you know. Hopefully they fall in love with your story too, but their job is to hunt the particulars. So I don't care if you're, you know, a guy, a girl.
But do you think it matters in all in terms of like age or anything like that? Or is there anything you think that matters associated with what an editor experience has?
Maybe a style difference, you know, if somebody, like, frankly, I mean, I do throw a few F-bombs around, and that's just my style, and that's what I've always read, that's what I write, and that's how it works for me. So if somebody approaches it who is more of a, you know, a straight-laced reader, they might look at that and say, geez, are there too many F-bombs? And I might say, well, no.
Well, they might say something about geez, who knows?
Yeah, you know, and so that there might be that stylistic difference, but I think an editor will be impartial in terms of that stuff. I think that they'll just apply their sort of regulations, their words regulations.
So are you trying to appeal to it, though, a certain segmentation of the population?
I'm being true to what I read. So I'm writing what I read.
Okay.
So this is the kind of stuff that I've read forever. From Patterson to Jackie Collins
gritty noir.
Yeah, some gritty stuff, you know. But Gone with the Wind to this day remains my favorite book.
Some great lines in that.
Yeah, and there are some great lines in that too. Yeah.
I haven't read it yet, so.
Yeah, so
I will now.
that's probably the biggest
So just to
difference.
summarize, so this is the first book in the series.
Yes.
And it's out
So
now.
this is this girl. So the girl that you meet in this story, her name is Jaycee Wilder, and she's a young, aggressive television reporter in Los Angeles, and she's like me in that we do the same thing. She's so much better and so much worse than I would ever be in many ways. How she approaches a story, how she tries to get answers to her questions. But one thing about her that I wanted to make sure that I inserted into her character is she might be abrasive, and she might take that TV media assumption to the 10th degree, but yet she has a heart, and a lot of the decisions and choices and actions that she takes to get a story is because she's seeking answers and justice. So I wanted to make sure that yes, she's flawed, and that you might want to say, what are you doing? But there's a reason for her chasing these things, chasing bad guys down, trying to find answers, going where she shouldn't go, pushing when she shouldn't push. So there's a reason why she does all of that. So in this story, she's out in LA, and she's trying to make her mark in an industry. And this is a tough industry. The TV industry is challenging, it's demanding. When you're young, you really do need to, you know, you have to make a name for yourself. And in order to do that, you either have to be consistently awesome or unique or whatever. So she wants to be all of that, and she wants to go after a story that's unfolding. And she sees a series of murders in bad nightclubs where, you know, regular people don't go. And it's appealing to this certain particular type of the population. And all of a sudden, boom, 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 3 girls are dead. And they're gory, horrific deaths. So she goes searching for what she suspects is a serial killer. So another reporter trick that some people do, and not all the reporters, but when there is a horrific public murder, crime, whatever, a reporter on her own time might sometimes go to a funeral, or sometimes you have to go for work, and those are awful. But she's sniffing around. And as she's sniffing around at the latest victim's murder, she comes across a cop. And this is an interesting kind of cop. He has a couple of obvious wounds and a lot more inner wounds that you don't know about until a little bit later. And as reporters are often want to do, they make alliances. They create alliances within police departments, within fire departments. They develop their sources, they work their sources. And sometimes sources and reporters can work very, very well together to put new information out that somebody might not have yet, to keep information in if the police need that to stay quiet for a little bit longer. So these two form an alliance. And through that alliance, together they become not only acquainted with one another, but they become not quite friends because they're not on the same level, but they start to learn from one another. And as she goes deeper in trying to find this killer, the cop starts to get worried about her own safety because he does stuff like that for a living. She doesn't really know what she's doing. She's going to places where she's not equipped to be. So anyway, that's the alliance that they form. And they are two characters that I've carried forward into my the second story in the Jaycee Wilder series, which will come out next year. It's called Legacy Girls. And this is Jaycee, after getting through the twists and turns of Throwaway Girls, gets a call from back east, because she grew up around here. And a young cousin, teenager, who's away at a prestigious boarding school on scholarship, is missing. And her mother is worried, but nobody else is. The boarding school's really not that worried because these are boarding school kids and they're independent. And sometimes they might just wander off for a little while. But the mother wants her to come, take a look. And so off she comes to New Hampshire and starts poking around to figure out what's happened to her teenage cousin. So that's Legacy Girls coming out next year.
So what I liked about your book is it reminded me a lot of this book reminded me a lot of the early volumes of the Kenzie and Gennaro series that Dennis Lane did.
Really?
Yeah, the interplay between the two characters, and it really drew me in. And I'm looking forward to the next book.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for writing that.
It's an interesting dynamic whenever you work with a police source, and to write these, I have a police source. I have a couple of them. Well, three of them, actually.
You have folks that you've
Oh yeah, and they're beyond wonderful in so many ways. First of all, that they deal with me because I pester them all the time. And sometimes I'll throw out a hey in a text. Hey, what about this? And my police source, who's with the state major crimes unit, will text back, yeah, and then this. So sometimes he can even help me bring this further down a road that I didn't even really know that I was on. And then my LA police detective source made sure that everything fit. You know what I mean? So for instance, one of the little tiny tweaks that we had to do is out here we have cruisers, right? So the cops jump in their cruiser and off they go. We're out on the West Coast, they're the Crown Vic. So that's how they refer to, yeah.
Little subtle.
Yeah, little subtle things that, and she said, well, just, make sure you do that. And then there's just a little tiny bit, maybe 2 chapters long, of Jaycee putting in a call to a police department and getting through to somebody to find the guy that she needs to talk to eventually. But I never identified the officer who picked up the phone to say, hey, this is so-and-so department, hello. And she said, no, our protocol here is that we have to say, hello, this is Officer such and such speaking. How can I direct your call? So, yeah, just another little tiny tweak to make it a bit more
Do
lifelike.
you worry at all about the fact that when you're writing a book and you're actually talking to people, that they can get a little bit intermixed?
You mean, do I put real people in the book?
Well, no, I know you wouldn't do that. But I'm just saying that the potential for crossing over between reality and fiction.
Oh, I think fiction is reality.
Oh.
I really do. Every bit of information that I know, stuff I've seen in my job, is real. And that has helped me craft fiction.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Oh, it does.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of reality, and I think every story that people write,
Well, it
it's
tells me
their
I'm not going
reflection.
to LA at least.
Yeah, or just not to those nightclubs.
I'm not a nightclub person.
I know, neither am I. So
We'll go together and out cheers.
there, yes,
I'll
there
be
you
like,
go.
stay away, stay away.
Yeah, you'll need that from this. Trust me. Yeah, I think that in order to really get gritty, you have to have seen it, heard it, felt it a little bit. And in TV world, you know, we see it and feel it every day. And when we're out with our photographers, oftentimes we're first at the scene, even before police and fire get there. We're there, we're rolling up with camera rolling, and we see stuff that, you know, we shouldn't see. We're not trained to see. We're not trained to handle all of that stuff, and yet we see it all the time. We experience everything that you experience as a viewer, except we have to keep it bottled up, knocked down, in control of it. You can't let it slip. You know, I can't have an expression if I'm talking about Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump. I can't. I can't show you what I think. I can't show you what I've heard. I can't show you what I've seen. And that is the only difference between somebody who's on TV and somebody who's just a regular viewer watching it. The only difference, because we feel everything that you feel when you're watching horrific, awful things unfold, as they do every single night. So the fiction is from everything in the world that I've already seen, felt, heard, smelled, all that stuff. But I think that's true for most authors, I would say. Depending on whatever they write about, it's maybe places they've been. And, you know, that feeling that you got when you were at that place, or the memory that you had of that person. You know, it's something that they felt that they can then dig into and then spin that into a different story.
Any questions?
You don't want to leave it to me because I'll just keep talking.
Hit me. What else you got?
Why fiction versus some other genre?
Well, I'm more of a fiction reader.
Okay.
So I'm really the typical writing what I like to read type of author. I honestly can't even remember
So
the
is Patterson
last.
one of your favorites?
Patterson?
The early ones?
Oh yeah, and Sidney Sheldon.
Yeah.
I would grab. I mean, my mom had an array and stuff. Some stuff I can't even remember who wrote it, but she had an array. So I would grab whatever she had from the time I was about 10. And I had no business grabbing what was on her nightstand, really. I mean, I didn't. I turned out okay, but she really should have been keeping a closer eye on what I was grabbing off of her nightstand. But it was everything from Margaret Mitchell and Gone with the Wind and plowing through that. And then that's one of those books that I would go back and read again and again and again and just love it just as much as the first time. But, you know, a lot of folks will say, you know, Jackie Collins is a smut writer. And I will say, yeah, but her characters are so great. And I'll never forget most of them. And some of them, I feel like they're my friends, you know? And then when I got up to New Hampshire and I started to sort of open and listen to what other people were reading and thinking and all that stuff, and I started to become acclimated with the work of Jodi Picoult. And she's a New Hampshire girl,
Yeah,
you know?
I saw what you wrote.
Yeah, I mean,
And
she's awesome.
My daughter, my older daughter, which she's a fanatic for this.
For
place.
Jodi?
Yeah,
Jodi's
she
awesome.
thinks Jodi walks on water.
Well, she does, really.
Okay, so there
I
you
can
go.
tell you for sure she does. And I was like, oh, geez, I've got to try this. And My Sister's Keeper was my first Jodi Picoult book. Have you read that? Oh. And I remember closing the book and feeling like I had just been shot. And then I said, well, and then in my TV job could overlap a little bit, because then it got really cool because I could call her and say, hey, I want to do a story with you. And she said, okay, come on up. So, yep, we've done a couple of stories together. I think Jodi's fantastic.
Sweet.
Not only is she supremely talented, she's a super fun, nice person. And I have thoroughly enjoyed all my time that I've spent with her. She's just great. She's just great. Yeah, so when I said, hey, I'm wondering if you might take a look at my new book and give me a little blurb. They call these blurbs. And as authors, you're supposed to go in search of as many blurbs as you can get from as many well-known authors as you can find.
Getting a Jodi Picoult blurb. That's a good
Yep, and I'm getting a Jodi Picoult blurb, which is the first one. Is it the first one on the
Looks
back?
like the
Yep,
first
there
one.
she is. Yeah, so that was pretty cool.
Although it's after the 5 stars from the Midwest book
Yes, yes. And you know what?
I
It's
didn't know
funny
we did that.
because a lot of reviews have started to come in, and most of them are awesome and fantastic. And then you get a couple of outliers, and I appreciate those too, though, because this is only my second book out, so I'll take a look at, okay, well, what is the criticism? And is it something that I can, legitimately take a look at and improve on or whatever? Or is it just
me?
me?
Do you even care?
Yeah, I don't know. I care in a productive way. I care in a,
Oh, sorry.
is this something
In a
that I,
professional way.
yeah, that I need to improve upon?
Yeah.
That kind of way. That's it. That's it. And to be honest with you, I'm just really grateful that people are reading it.
I'd say that would
just
be
makes
the
me
number.
happy.
People read it.
Yeah. So that's just a really cool thing, You put a book out in the world and you just never know. Same thing with a movie. Same thing with
It's not
anything.
on my to-do list, so
Yeah, see? You never know.
it's not.
Right.
I have a much longer list of other stuff.
And that's awesome, and that's fantastic. And a lot of people have grown up reading; they can't imagine not reading. And I love the argument between I grab my Kindle or I grab my book, and that's always a fascinating argument to have with people. I still kind of grab the book. Do you too?
Oh, much more.
Yeah.
Much more.
Yeah.
But some people swear by their Kindles; they love them. I just finished "Girl on the Train" on my Kindle. Did you read that one?
I haven't read it.
I haven't read that one.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah,
enjoy
it's
it?
like this.
Who wrote it?
Did you enjoy it?
Well, I don't like to say I didn't because it's somebody's really hard work, but I guess it wasn't my favorite. Yeah.
Cool.
It's this new, well, it's not even new. I guess it's been out a year or so, but it's a huge bestseller. It's an English set,
It's turned into
Thriller.
into a movie already.
yeah, and it's becoming a movie. And that's always, I guess that's pie in the sky kind of stuff is when,
Are you a Gone Girl fan?
no,
You didn't like that one?
no.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that one. And you know
What are some
why?
recent ones that you've enjoyed? It sounds like you like some classics.
I enjoyed Gone Girl.
Did you?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. I had this agent in New York for a while, and he was great. We parted as friends. He's a nonfiction guy. He's like your guy. He's like a nonfiction type
There's no such
lover.
thing as my guy. Trust me. Trust
But
me.
he was fantastic, and I really adored him. But anyway, his dad was the screenwriter for the movie Tootsie. Yeah, and I didn't even know that.
Tootsie.
His dad,
Good movie.
yeah,
Very
his
good movie.
dad wrote the screenplay for the movie Tootsie with
Oh,
Dustin
Tootsie,
Hoffman.
yeah.
Yeah, and then he would tell me, so he and Dustin grew very close. So when Dustin would take a role, he would call this guy's dad and say, I need you to come in here and massage this script because it needs your touch.
Like
How
that.
cool is that?
The
So
go-to guy,
I
I like
loved
that.
this guy. He was a great guy, but he would come back at me and say, but Jen, would that really happen? Is that real? Are you stretching that? And he would make me think. And sometimes I would reel stuff in and say, well, maybe he's right. So I kind of looked at Gone Girl like my agent would have yelled at me
Well,
if I had
no
put that
doubt.
out and said,
Well, it wouldn't have happened.
yeah.
But
And
was
he
entertaining.
was that kind of guy that approached it from that respect. And I guess in turn, when I read it, I was like, so you've read it, right?
well,
so
no,
when
that's probably the benefit because I never read it.
oh, you never read it. Okay. Well,
I only saw the movie.
so the part in the movie when she's so far down the road and then she ends up killing that guy. I remember thinking, what?
Really?
Really? Yeah. But anyway, people loved it. See, so it's all very
I
subjective.
didn't say I loved it. I just said
You liked it.
Liked it.
You liked it.
I didn't turn it
Yeah.
off the TV.
Yeah, good. And I haven't really seen the whole movie. I've seen bits and pieces, and I think Ben Affleck's fantastic, but I didn't sit through this one.
He's so cute. Come on.
He's very cute.
And I'm straight.
He's very
Just
he's very
throwing that
cute.
out there.
He's very cute, and he's from Massachusetts, and I'm from Massachusetts.
I'm
So.
from Massachusetts.
Well,
You
I'm from
are-
Brighton.
You guys
Right.
don't have to apologize on public TV. It's okay. We all have to be,
Where
we all
are
have to
you
be,
from,
be from somewhere.
Massachusetts?
I'm from Middleborough, Massachusetts, which is sort of
Oh,
between the Cape and Boston.
02346, yeah.
02346.
I used to work in the post office.
Yeah, look at that instant recall. 02346.
Now, this is about the time I tell you I'm actually from New Jersey. So
Mm-hmm.
if you want to throw stones,
02, 07, or 08?
07.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. See, that's a
There
character.
you go.
It's a great
See, that's a
I was an
character.
Zip code
operator,
guy.
so I could do the
Yeah,
exchange, area
see?
code and exchanges.
I
I can't do any
look
of
for
that.
people like you because you're the type of people with the kind of background.
I'm his
with
agent,
that
just-
quirky.
Yeah.
Yes. See.
You be my agent. He can ask all the questions.
Yes. He
So
would.
you got the zip code guy and you got the area code guy.
I mean,
That's
really.
the stuff
Imagine
you
what we
need
could
in
craft with that.
books.
Boy,
It
and
is.
the nicknames you guys could have for that.
It is.
You just came up with them.
We can come up with a lot.
Area code.
He should be
Focus
your
group here. Well, I so appreciate you coming.
Oh, thank you. I mean, if it were
Anything
rainy
else you
and
wanna
30
tell
degrees
them?
outside,
Yeah,
I
we
think
could go on.
yeah.
Anything else you want to tell the folks?
Just that I'm grateful. Thank you for giving it a try. Thank you for coming by. It's so nice to meet you.
Very
And
nice to
even
meet
you
you.
especially, because I know this isn't your kind of thing.
Well,
So
I'm gonna actually
I appreciate
get my
that.
daughter to.
Awesome.
I'm gonna buy it because you sold it. I wasn't, and then you sold it.
See, look
Well,
at
you're
that.
doing a good thing for
Yeah.
charity and everything.
Yeah.
Good
This will
charity
be
and
unfortunately too low on my pile of books, so I'll get to it.
Okay, that's fine with me. I'm not going anywhere. And my next round of charities too, another thing that's very close to my heart are wounded vets, vets organizations.
I'm not a vet.
Stuff that doesn't get to them that should. So that's on my
I'm not
radar
a
screen
vet,
too.
even though I look like a vet, but I'm not. This is,
Neither of us are. We're not pretending.
I got this from diabetes.
I have a 17-year-old son who still views the world in a way that he thinks that he alone can make a big difference in the world.
Good.
And so doing that, he is thinking about a career in the military after baseball. Yes, so we talk about it a lot. I make sure that he's aware because it tugs on me as a mom.
Which branch is he looking
Wow.
at?
Dangerous world, yeah.
Very
Oh, it's a dangerous world. Of course he wants to be, special forces,
Oh.
sniper,
Wow.
yeah, all that glamorous stuff.
I've got a friend of mine whose children all went through the military, and they were all best in their profession. So one is an Army, he's Special Ranger.
Yeah.
One is a, if you go through each of the branches, you'll tickle my memory. So one is a Special Ranger, the other one is a,
Special Forces?
yeah, Special Forces, and I can't even remember.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I've had some brain issues, so
Yeah.
that's what I bring it on.
And that's what, that's what he wants to do. And
Best of the best.
yeah, I mean, it takes your breath away sometimes thinking
Does.
about what's going on in the world. And, he wants to be a police officer eventually too. And
Ooh.
I know. And he's such a good soul.
I'd
that-
send him into
Wow.
the military before I'd send him to the police force.
Yeah.
right
personally.
now,
Yeah.
special.
And I have to tell you, I won't be sending him anywhere. It will be
Him.
sending himself.
Good.
And
That's the way it should be.
as he's now freshly turned 17, you as a parent understand that you can't hold on forever and dictate to your
Nor should
young
you.
adult. Right. So, yeah. So anyway, that's an important part of our family, and that's another part of our charitable realm.
I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. So everything is for a good cause.
So you said you have two children, boy and a
I
girl?
do. I have a boy and a girl.
And what's your daughter want to do?
My daughter she loves animals. And I
Lots of-
keep telling her that I think you need to be a vet or you need to be an animal something.
It's
And
much-
she's also a great soccer
It's
player.
much
so.
more difficult to become a vet than it is actually to be an MD or DO.
Yeah, yeah. And she is trying to figure that out. She's very, she's different, It's like your kids come out and yet they can be completely like you and completely unlike you, and you have zero control over how that develops or if it ever goes away or if they become outliers like you can't imagine. And she's, she's going to do her own thing for
And
sure.
I do love Gladwell as well. I think he's fantastic. Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah,
You just mentioned Outliers, so.
Outliers.
I just had to give him a little.
Outliers. And now I'm wondering if I should, so I just finished, does anybody have Netflix?
Yes.
Okay. Have you seen Bloodline?
Bloodline, no.
Have you seen Bloodline? Oh, we just finished Bloodline, and that's
Yes, it's good.
fantastic. It's great. But now I'm wondering if I should dip into Game of Thrones. Now that you guys have brought it up, and
I think it's fantastic.
you think it's great.
And even my kids like it.
Okay,
And my children, my 27-year-old loves it.
okay. And you're
You'll either like it or you won't.
Really?
You'll know pretty soon.
Yeah. No, you didn't. Did you try it? Yeah.
Well, sit down with your husband.
Yes.
Gauge off of him.
Yes. Okay.
Because
You signed?
Yes, I'd be happy to. I actually have to get myself a pen.
I know.
Okay.